In 2018, a tech entrepreneur purchased a bankrupt data storage facility in the Nevada desert. Among the decommissioned servers, workers found a single, unmarked hard drive that was still powered and ice-cold to the touch. When forensic analysts managed to access its contents, they discovered it contained over 50,000 hours of seemingly random security footage from around the world, traffic cameras in Tokyo, baby monitors in Sweden, ATM cameras in Brazil. All footage was from different dates spanning 40 years, but shared one terrifying commonality. At some point in each recording, a tall, slender figure in a gray suit would appear in the background. The figure never moved, never interacted with anything, simply stood watching. Researchers called him the Observer. The footage itself was disturbing enough, but the true horror was discovered by a junior analyst named Chloe. She noticed that when the Observer appeared, digital noise in the footage formed brief, perfect geometric patterns. These patterns, when decoded, corresponded to future tragedies, accidents, natural disasters, deaths. The Observer wasn't just watching history. He was displaying a countdown to events that hadn't happened yet, and the final pattern pointed to a single location, Chloe's own apartment building, with a timestamp just 72 hours away. Chloe stared at her screen, the coffee in her stomach turning to ice. The decoded pattern from the Tokyo subway footage clearly showed geographic coordinates that matched her address, followed by a timestamp 3 days in the future. She'd been working 16-hour days on the Observer project, and part of her wondered if she was hallucinating from exhaustion. She cross-referenced the pattern with previous confirmed predictions. The mathematical structure was identical to the one that had preceded a bridge collapse in Portugal that killed 14 people. This was real. Her hands trembled as she called her supervisor, Dr. Evans. "I found something. A new prediction." She heard the rustle of papers on the other end. "Location? Time frame?" Evans asked, his voice clinical. "My apartment building. 72 hours from now." The line went silent for a long minute. "Chloe, go home. Get some rest. We'll discuss this in the morning." He'd hung up before she could protest. He didn't believe her. Or worse, he did believe her and was following protocol containment. She was now part of the experiment. That night, as she lay in bed, her phone buzzed with a motion alert from her living room camera. The feed showed empty darkness. Then, for a single frame, a tall, gray-suited figure stood beside her television. The image pixelated and vanished. The Observer was no longer confined to the hard drive. The next morning, Chloe found a single gray thread on her sofa, exactly matching the Observer's suit material. It was proof. He had been physically present. She tried calling Evans again, but her calls went straight to voicemail. When she drove to the research facility, she found her security clearance revoked. They had locked her out. Panic set in. She was on her own with 48 hours until whatever was supposed to happen. She decided to use her skills. Setting up multiple monitors in her apartment, she began analyzing every frame of Observer footage, looking for clues about what kind of event was coming. Fire? Structural collapse? Something worse? The patterns were frustratingly opaque about the nature of the disaster, only the when and where. As she worked, she noticed something new. In footage from a Berlin park, just before a fatal lightning strike, the Observer wasn't just standing. His head was tilted at a precise 17-degree angle. She scanned other clips. Before a factory explosion in Mumbai, 17-degree head tilt. Before a train derailment in Scotland, 17-degree head tilt. She pulled up the single frame from her own security camera. The Observer's head was tilted at exactly 17 degrees. The event was confirmed. It was inevitable. With 36 hours left, strange things began happening in Chloe's building. The power flickered in rhythmic pulses that matched the mathematical constants from the observer patterns. Water from her tap ran ice-cold and scalding hot in the same sequence. Reality itself seemed to be syncing with the countdown. Her neighbor, Mrs. Gable, knocked on her door. "Dear, are you having TV problems? Mine keeps showing this strange static." Chloe looked past her and saw the older woman's television displaying the exact geometric pattern from the hard drive. The phenomenon was spreading. That evening, watching the news, she saw a reporter standing outside a courthouse where a high-profile trial was underway. In the background of the live shot, barely visible in the crowd, stood the observer. His head was tilted. Chloe scrambled to decode the pattern from the live news feed. It showed the courthouse address with a timestamp of 10 minutes from now. She watched, horrified, as the live feed cut to chaos. A car had plowed into the building's entrance. The observer didn't just predict. He manifested at the site of tragedies. And he was already in her building. She could feel it dot asterisk 24 hours remained. Chloe decided to warn her building manager. She found his office empty, the computer monitor displaying the now familiar geometric pattern. As she turned to leave, she noticed drops of dark liquid leading from the office toward the basement. Against every instinct screaming at her to run, she followed them. The basement storage room was freezing, and there was the manager, Mr. Henderson, standing perfectly still facing a corner. "Mr. Henderson?" Chloe's voice echoed in the concrete space. He didn't respond. She approached slowly, reaching out to touch his shoulder. Her fingers had barely brushed his jacket when he crumbled, not fell, but disintegrated into a fine gray dust that settled on the floor in a perfect circle. Where he had stood, a single gray business card lay on the ground. It was blank except for a timestamp, the exact moment of tomorrow's predicted event. The observer wasn't just predicting deaths. He was causing them, remaking people into whatever substance composed his being. And he was preparing the stage for whatever was coming tomorrow. Chloe ran from the basement, her heart hammering against her ribs. She had to get out of the building. She packed a bag with her research, her laptop, and the gray card. In the lobby, she found Mrs. Gable by the mailboxes, humming tunelessly. "You should leave," Chloe gasped. Something terrible was going to happen tomorrow. The old woman turned, and Chloe saw her eyes had turned completely gray, like tarnished silver. "But it's already happening, dear," Mrs. Gable said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "He's making everything perfect." Her hand shot out with impossible speed, grabbing Chloe's wrist. The touch was freezing cold. "You should stay for the completion." Chloe yanked her arm away and sprinted out into the night. When she looked back from the street, she saw Mrs. Gable standing in the building's glass doorway, not moving, not blinking, just watching her with those solid gray eyes. The transformation was spreading person by person. The event wasn't a disaster in the conventional sense. It was a conversion. The observer was turning her building, and everyone in it, into more of whatever he was. Asterisk Chloe checked into a cheap motel and spread her research across the bed. She had 12 hours. Working frantically, she cross-referenced all the observer appearances. The pattern wasn't random. It was creating a massive geometric shape across the city, with her apartment building at the center. Each tragedy was a node in this growing network. The courthouse incident, the dissolved building manager, Mrs. Gable, they were all points in an invisible structure. The observer was building in reality itself. Her building was the final point. When it was completed, at the predicted time, something would happen. A door would open, a circuit would close. She found a forgotten USB drive in her bag, containing raw data from the original hard drive. There was one file she hadn't reviewed, simply labeled Protocol. It contained schematics for something called a reality anchor and a warning. Pattern convergence will create a localized reality failure. Do not witness the completion. The research team had known this might happen. They'd been preparing for it, and they had abandoned her to it. Asterisk, with 6 hours left, Chloe knew she had to go back. She couldn't let this happen without trying to stop it. She gathered what she needed: high-powered magnets from an electronics store, a car battery, cables, anything that might disrupt whatever energy the observer was using. As she approached her building, the air grew thick and heavy. The colors seemed washed out, like the world was becoming a faded photograph. The front door was unlocked. The lobby was empty, but everything was covered in a fine layer of this same gray dust that had been Mr. Henderson. The building was silent. In a way that went beyond absence of sound, it was the silence of a place where sound no longer had meaning. She went to the roof, hoping to set up her makeshift reality anchor at the highest point. But the observer was waiting for her. He stood by the roof access door, not as a digital ghost, but as a physical presence. His face was smooth and featureless, except for 2 dark holes where eyes should be. In his hand, he held another gray business card. This one had her name on it. Asterisk, "You're not predicting the future," Chloe whispered, her makeshift equipment forgotten at her feet. "You're building it." The observer didn't speak, but understanding flooded her mind in a wave of cold certainty. He was an architect from a dimension where thought shaped reality. His patterns weren't predictions, they were blueprints. Each tragedy was a necessary structural component in a new reality he was constructing piece by piece. Her building was the keystone. At the appointed time, this location would cease to exist as part of our world and become the first permanent foothold of his dimension. The converted people weren't dead. They had been remade as foundational elements. The gray dust was primordial matter from his universe. He needed a witness from this reality to anchor the transformation, someone who understood what was happening. He had chosen her. All the leaks of his presence, the hard drive left accessible, the patterns decipherable, it had all been designed to lead her here, to this moment. She wasn't a researcher who had stumbled upon a mystery. She was a crucial component being installed. The transformation began. The roof beneath her feet became transparent, then dissolved into the geometric patterns she had studied for weeks. The sky above swirled with impossible colors as 2 realities overlapped. She could see the gray dimension beneath our own, like a foundation showing through worn carpet, stark, angular, and perfectly silent. The observer reached toward her. One touch would complete her conversion, make her part of the new reality. But Chloe understood something else now. His dimension needed anchors because it was incomplete, a universe of perfect order that couldn't sustain itself without the chaotic energy of ours. Her understanding of the pattern, her fear, her resistance, this chaotic human response was as necessary as the order he brought. She had a choice: become an anchor and enable the invasion, or reject the role and collapse the pattern. But collapsing, it would mean unmaking all the converted people and the locations he had already transformed. It would mean killing Mrs. Gable, the building manager, everyone at the courthouse incident, turning them from gray matter back into nothingness. She was choosing how they would die. Asterisk, Chloe made her choice. She didn't take the observer's hand. Instead, she grabbed her makeshift equipment and slammed the magnets into the car battery, creating a chaotic electromagnetic pulse directly into the heart of the pattern. The observer didn't scream. He simply began unraveling, his form dissolving back into the static from which he came. The building groaned as realities separated. She watched as Mrs. Gable, visible through the now transparent walls, dissolved back into ordinary matter one last time, giving Chloe a small, grateful smile before vanishing. When the emergency crews found Chloe hours later, She was the only person in an otherwise ordinary, empty apartment building. The official report cited a gas leak that caused mass hallucinations and evacuations. But Chloe knew the truth, and she saw the signs everywhere now. Brief static patterns on televisions, people who stood just a little too still, the occasional business card where none should be. The observer was gone, but the pattern remained, and she knew it was only a matter of time before another architect came to finish what he started. She started carrying a magnet everywhere she went, and she watched, always watched.